As a person, I'm not talking about as a professional. I recognize it's hard to separate Rod Stewart, the professional, from Rod Stewart, the person. But as a person, what do you consider to be your biggest strength?
As a person, determination. I think determination has always gotten me through since I was a little kid. You know, wasn't particularly bright at school, but I didn't miss any days at school. I was never absent. I was willing to learn, and determination got me through.
What if the voice that defined generations was almost silenced forever? Rod Stewart faced cancer in silence, fought it with fearless determination, and came back stronger than ever, and his shocking confession might just save your life. Rod Stewart stands before the world not just as a rock legend with a raspy, unmistakable voice, but as a survivor who faced one of the most terrifying words any human can hear and refused to let it define him. For decades, fans knew him as the electrifying performer behind timeless anthems, the charismatic frontman who commanded stadiums with swagger, style, and raw emotion. Yet behind the spotlight, behind the roaring crowds and platinum records, there was a moment of silence that changed everything. A routine checkup, a doctor's careful tone, a diagnosis that could have shattered the spirit of a lesser man: cancer. When Rod Stewart revealed that he had been diagnosed with prostate cancer, the confession did not come wrapped in drama or self-pity. It came with honesty, courage, and a deep sense of responsibility. He shared that the cancer had been caught early during a routine test, a decision that ultimately saved his life. That simple act of going for a checkup became the turning point between fear and survival. For someone who had spent his life living loudly, the battle ahead would require quiet strength, discipline, and resilience that fans rarely get to see. He admitted that hearing the word cancer felt like the air had been pulled from the room. Even a global superstar is not immune to the sudden rush of vulnerability. In that moment, fame meant nothing. Awards meant nothing. The only thing that mattered was time. Time with family, time with children, time to keep singing the songs that shaped generations. He knew immediately that he had two choices. He could allow fear to consume him, or he could fight with everything he had. Rod chose to fight. What makes his story powerful is not just the diagnosis, but the mindset that followed. Instead of hiding, he educated himself. Instead of collapsing under pressure, he leaned into discipline. He underwent treatment privately, determined to handle the process with dignity. There were days of anxiety, nights of reflection, and moments when the uncertainty felt overwhelming. Yet through it all, he remained focused on the goal that mattered most: survival. He later revealed that the cancer had been detected early thanks to a simple PSA test. That detail became central to his message. Early detection saved his life. He began encouraging men everywhere to stop avoiding doctor visits and start taking their health seriously. Pride, embarrassment, and fear often stop people from seeking medical advice. Rod Stewart decided to use his voice not just for music, but for awareness. If sharing his story could save even one life, he believed it was worth it. During interviews, he spoke candidly about the emotional weight of the experience. There's something deeply human about a rock icon admitting fear. He described the quiet conversations with his wife and children, the internal dialogue about mortality, and the sudden clarity that illness can bring. When life feels invincible, health is often taken for granted. Cancer strips away that illusion in an instant. For Rod, it became a wake-up call to value every sunrise, every performance, every laugh with loved ones. The treatment process required patience. Recovery demanded strength beyond the stage persona, but there was a powerful motivation pushing him forward: music. He was not ready to say goodbye to the stage. He was not ready to silence the voice that had carried him from small clubs to global superstardom. The thought of returning to perform again became fuel during the hardest days. Fans were stunned when he later announced that he had beaten cancer. The relief was enormous. The celebration felt personal for millions who grew up with his music. Yet Rod did not frame his victory as luck alone. He emphasized awareness, testing, and early action. He wanted men everywhere to understand that silence can be deadly, but prevention can be life-saving. He also admitted that surviving cancer changed him, not in a dramatic, theatrical way, but in subtle, meaningful shifts. He began prioritizing health with greater discipline. He looked at his schedule differently. He treasured time with family in ways that only someone who has faced mortality truly can. There was a deeper gratitude in his voice when he spoke about life after treatment. What resonates most is the contrast between his rock and roll image and the vulnerability of his confession. For years, he symbolized confidence, charisma, and rebellion. Yet here he was, reminding the world that strength is not the absence of fear. Strength is facing fear and choosing to move forward anyway. That message transcends music. It speaks to anyone battling illness, uncertainty, or personal struggle. When Rod Stewart returned to the stage after recovery, it was more than just another concert. It was proof. Proof that early detection works. Proof that resilience matters. Proof that even in the darkest moments, hope can rise louder than fear. The crowd may have heard the same legendary voice, but there was an added layer of meaning behind every lyric. He was not just performing songs, he was celebrating survival. His openness sparked conversations worldwide. Men who had ignored symptoms began scheduling appointments. Families began discussing health more openly. In a culture where vulnerability is often hidden, especially among older men, his confession broke barriers. He didn't present himself as a victim. He presented himself as a fighter who was fortunate enough to catch the disease in time. There's something undeniably powerful about a legend using his platform for something beyond fame. Rod Stewart's story is not just about beating cancer, it's about responsibility. It's about turning a personal crisis into a public lesson. It's about reminding people that strength includes asking for help, seeking medical advice, and confronting uncomfortable truths. As he reflected on the experience, he often returned to one central message: get tested. That simple advice carries enormous weight because it comes from lived experience. He knows what it feels like to hear the diagnosis. He knows what it feels like to wait for results. And he knows what it feels like to walk away with a second chance. The battle against cancer reshaped his perspective, but it didn't dim his spirit. If anything, it intensified his appreciation for life's simplest joys. The roar of a crowd, the embrace of family, the quiet satisfaction of knowing he survived. For fans watching his journey unfold, the story was more than celebrity news. It was a reminder that health is fragile, time is precious, and courage can emerge from the most unexpected places. And that was only the beginning of what his survival would come to represent. Rod Stewart did not simply survive cancer and move on as if nothing had happened. Survival became a defining chapter in his life story, one that reshaped how he viewed fame, family, and the future. When he publicly confirmed that he had successfully beaten prostate cancer, the announcement carried more than relief. It carried purpose. He had been given another act in the story of his life, and he intended to use it wisely. He explained that catching the disease early was the ultimate blessing. Without routine testing, the outcome could have been very different. That realization fueled his determination to speak openly about men's health. Too often, conversations around prostate cancer remain uncomfortable or avoided altogether. Rod Stewart shattered that silence. He made it clear that ignoring checkups is not bravery. Real bravery is facing the possibility of bad news and taking control before it is too late. In interviews, he revealed that very few people knew about his diagnosis during treatment. He chose privacy while fighting the battle, wanting to focus fully on recovery without media frenzy. That decision reflected his disciplined mindset. He approached the illness like he approached his career, with preparation, commitment, and unwavering focus. He followed medical advice carefully and maintained a positive outlook, believing that mindset plays a crucial role in healing. The psychological impact of cancer can be as intense as the physical challenge. Rod admitted that there were moments when uncertainty crept in. Even with early detection, the word cancer carries emotional weight. He thought about legacy. He thought about unfinished plans. He thought about the music he still wanted to create. But instead of allowing those thoughts to spiral into fear, he turned them into motivation. He visualized recovery. He imagined stepping back onto the stage. He held tightly to the belief that this chapter would not be his final one. Family support became an anchor. He often spoke about how important it was to have loved ones standing beside him during treatment. Their strength reinforced his own. Facing mortality can deepen bonds, and for Rod Stewart, it reinforced the importance of presence. Success means little without people to share it with. Cancer stripped away distractions and highlighted what truly mattered. When he returned to touring, audiences noticed something different. The energy was still electric, the voice was still powerful, but there was an added layer of gratitude woven into every performance. Each show felt like a celebration of life. Each encore felt like defiance against the disease that once threatened to silence him. Fans who knew his story felt inspired, not just entertained. He also used his platform to stress that prostate cancer is highly treatable when caught early. That message cannot be repeated enough. Early detection doesn't just improve survival rates, it changes outcomes entirely. Rod Stewart became living proof. His survival story carried authenticity because it was real, personal, and unfiltered. He was not promoting awareness from a distance, he had walked through it himself. The courage to speak publicly about a private health struggle reflects a deeper maturity. Earlier in his career, Rod was known for flamboyance and rebellious charm. Now he showed a different kind of strength, the strength to admit vulnerability, the strength to educate, the strength to stand before millions and say, "I went through this, and you can protect yourself too." Cancer survivors often describe a shift in perspective, and Rod Stewart was no exception. Small frustrations lost their power. Petty conflict seemed insignificant. The experience recalibrated his priorities. Health moved to the top of the list. Time became more valuable than ever. He focused on maintaining fitness, staying active, and caring for his body with the same dedication he once reserved solely for music. There's also a broader lesson in his journey about masculinity and health. Many men hesitate to discuss medical concerns openly. Rod Stewart's honesty challenges that culture. By speaking about prostate cancer without embarrassment, he normalizes the conversation. He transforms what could be an uncomfortable topic into an urgent and empowering message. Awareness saves lives, silence does not. His victory over cancer added another dimension to his legacy. He will always be remembered for his music, his distinctive voice, and his decades of chart-topping success. But he will also be remembered as someone who used his influence for something deeply meaningful. Survival gave him credibility. Openness gave him impact. Even years after recovery, he continues to encourage regular testing. He reminds audiences that he was fortunate because the cancer was discovered early. That simple fact underscores everything. Early detection was the difference between a manageable health challenge and a potential tragedy. He doesn't dramatize it, he states it plainly, because the truth speaks for itself. Rod Stewart's story resonates because it blends fame with humanity. It proves that illness does not discriminate, it can touch anyone. But it also proves that preparation, awareness, and courage can dramatically alter the outcome. His journey from diagnosis to recovery stands as a testament to resilience. Today, when he steps into the spotlight, he carries more than decades of musical history. He carries the quiet strength of someone who faced mortality and emerged stronger. The cheers of the crowd may celebrate his hits, but beneath the applause lies a deeper appreciation. He is not just performing, he is living proof that cancer can be beaten. His openness continues to inspire countless men to take action regarding their own health. That may be one of his most important contributions beyond music, because while songs can move hearts, awareness can save lives. Rod Stewart opened up about beating cancer, not to seek sympathy, but to spark change. He transformed a frightening diagnosis into a powerful message of prevention, resilience, and gratitude. And in doing so, he reminded the world that true strength is not measured by how loudly you sing, but by how bravely you fight.
when the music stops.